Hello everybody, it's Kirsty. You know me, looking at crime through the lens of astrology is what I do. What we're going to have a look at today is Suzanne Morphew again, but we're going to have a look at a couple of different things. First of all, I pulled up a chart yesterday, a horary chart, who killed Suzanne. In my mind, it was more than that. It says that up here, but it was more like, who killed her? What happened to her? Where is she? What's happened to Suzanne? Then I pulled up her natal chart, the 30th of April 1971, but I had to put it in red on the outside here because I don't have a time. We can't have it exactly as it would be if we had a time. But what you can do is make the event chart. So this chart here, the one on the inside in blue, and the signs on the outside here, is the event. Apparently the last time she was seen. Now, I don't believe this was the last time she was seen, but it doesn't really matter. We still always get an answer when we're told a time. Even if it's a lie time. That's not what I usually call it. It's a lie time. And this one's no different. It's a lie time. But so we have her natal planets on the outside and the event on the inside. And then this makes it really quite precise then. We can see where her sun was in relative aspect to Uranus at that time, where her Saturn was in aspect to everything. So we're going to have a look at both of these. First of all, we're going to have a look at the horary, and that's because it's very interesting and it tells me a whole lot of stuff. So bear with me and let's have a look at who killed Suzanne Morphew. This is the horary chart. I'm just zooming in so we can see. There we go. I asked it 12th of August, 2:49 p.m. So that's the chart for then, which is virtually what's going on in the sky right now. Well, on the 12th of August. So the first thing I want to see is, as always, the ascendant and the descendant, or the AC and the DC, the victim and the suspect. So that's where we look to start with. Suzanne is ruled by Capricorn. Capricorn is the sign that's associated with Saturn. Saturn, unfortunately, in a chart like this, and when I'm reading it for a reading and a case like this, when I see it in the first house, it's not really very good, because that shows that her body is, well, we're looking for her body, because this, remember, this chart was for yesterday, but it's a horary chart, so it's a long time from May till now. I do believe that that's showing us that we're looking for her body, because it's in the first house. The DC, the perpetrator, it's interesting because it's Cancer. Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon is usually our mother. So you're okay, well, I don't think it's her mother that did anything to her, so we need to go a little bit further. The moon is in Taurus at 25 degrees. This shows me that the suspect has a drinking problem or is an alcoholic, because it is conjunct the fixed star Algol, which interprets to alcohol, and this alcohol makes this person very angry. And there is an aspect between Saturn, which is Suzanne, and the moon. 27 degrees of Capricorn is Saturn, and 25 of Taurus is the moon. So that shows an aspect between those two. Now it happens to be a trine, which is 120 degrees, which is often looked as a good aspect. When we're looking at a perpetrator and a victim, it shows me a clear line between one and the other. They know each other well. So I truly believe that she knew who did something to her. That's one thing. The person is an alcoholic or drinks a lot. That's the second thing. If not, the worst other scenario with the moon being at this point is that she has been attacked in the head. She's been hit over the head. So she would have head wounds. That's actually very possible as well. So not only could it be the alcoholic, it's close to Saturn here. There's just male energy around it. So that's in the 5th house as well, the moon. The perpetrator is in the 5th house. That's somebody that's having fun and getting drunk, basically. Somebody who's having a good old party and gets really, really pissed and then decides to punch somebody in the face or knock somebody over the head. That's exactly what this spells out to me. So I have a feeling, this is intuitively and from the chart, that Suzanne and her partner possibly had an argument on the 9th of May at around about probably 4 o'clock, something like that, after she'd been texting with a friend of hers. There's an argument that's occurred. And being the moon in Cancer, it shows me that it's whatever's happened has happened in the home. Now, another thing that doesn't look great is this here. In the 8th house of death, the Sun and Mercury in Leo. Now, by themselves, it's not essentially a death aspect, but it's a yod. It's a part of a fate, finger of God. This dotty line here, this dotty line here, and then the blue line between there and there. So this arrow pointing to that sun is showing me that her body, herself, then the 3rd house rules travel, short distances, being within the neighbourhood. Neptune is lies about riding a bike. That's what this is. Complete lies. It's not true. She wasn't riding a bike on the 10th. I don't believe it. I didn't believe it when I did the first chart, and I don't believe it now. Then that's pointing to the sun. It's giving us literal directions. It's going, look at me. Look over here in the 8th house of death. Something's going to happen, and there's lies about her body and her death. Let me just point that one out to you again with a clean slate, because I know these lines can be difficult. So this dotty red line here, all the way up there, I'm going to just draw that. That's going to Jupiter and the ascendant, because they're both at 18. And the sun's at 19. So we know that's an aspect because it's so close. Then we have Neptune here at 20. Oops. With that dotty line that also points to the sun at 19. Then there's a blue line here. Oops. That goes from Neptune back to Jupiter. So it's called a yod, or finger of God, or Y-O-D. XD, a yod. That's what that pattern is there. Okay. Just like to teach a little bit throughout the chart readings as well. All right, so what else do we have here? So Cancer as the suspect. We need to focus on that. We want to know who's the suspect, what did he look like, why did he do it, what's going on. I think the reason why is what I've already said. Alcohol and anger, which is this. Suzanne 100% knows who this person is. It wouldn't surprise me if there is a woman involved. I'm not sure where, but another woman somewhere along the lines. So we have the why, I think. I think there was a verbal argument. So we have the whys. And the argument could have been over finances or money, pointing to the 8th house, other people's money. Could have been about taxes, finances, just banking things, all sorts of different 8th house things. Cancer is in how the person looks. Now, Cancer people are usually a little plumper, so their skin doesn't go straight to their bones, they're not thin, not fat, but plumper. Now, the moon being the ruler and being in Taurus at 25 degrees, no less, it's actually a bigger person, a big, strong person. The problem I'm having, though, is doing a profile with a horary chart is never quite as accurate as doing it with the event chart. So I'm going to go to the event chart and also do a profile, but we'll just carry on having a look at this first. Okay, so the end of the matter, the IC, is in Aries, and then Mars was inside the 4th house of the end of the matter as well. So we've got a lot of anger, a lot of rushing around, and again, the head. There's head injuries. Yeah. The last scene chart, or the lie time, as I prefer to call it, it's going to tell us more. Now, Suzanne's natal chart is on the outside, but we don't have to focus on that, but I will look at some things for sure. So I want to look at a profile. Now, Suzanne is ruled by Libra in this instance. So her planet is Venus in Gemini, in the 8th house of death, no less, again. And look at that. The suspect, Aries, which, if you just remember, the end of the matter had Aries on it. So at the time that we were told that this happened, the end result being that ultimately there was only the people involved that know what happened, is very representative of this Aries being up here and then being down here. Okay, so Aries rules the perpetrator, which is Mars. So there we have that angry old Mars in the 4th house of the end of the matter, no less. Head injuries again. We also have Saturn on. Google's trying to listen to me. We also have Saturn on the IC, the end of the matter. That's her body. I think she's deceased by the 10th of May. By 6 p.m, I don't think she's alive anymore. Okay. the perpetrator, tall, big. The sun is in the 7th house here, in Taurus. We've got that Taurus again. So Suzanne herself is a Taurus. This other person is a big, angry fellow that can come across as being a smartass, a bullshitter, and someone who thinks that they're funny but they're not. I don't know who this person is. I'm just saying what I think they're like. Uranus is also in the 7th house, which shows me that something happened suddenly. The fact that Suzanne's natal sun is conjunct Uranus shows me that it happened really quickly and it was involving her. So I think she was hit over the head, and I think it was very quick and out of the blue. Okay. Now, her biggest area of her natal chart is here. Venus, the ascendant, Chiron, and a retrograde Mercury in the 6th house of health at the time. So her health was, well, you can either look at it in two ways: in very bad shape or deceased by the time that this chart was done, the 10th of May. So that's all health. It's not good to see that there. Also, her Saturn. Saturn is our old age, our deceased body, our body, I talk about it all the time. It is right on the cusp of the event chart's 8th house of death. So when her Saturn moved into the 8th house at this particular minute of this chart, shows us that she's deceased. So we have Saturn down here at the end of the matter on an angle, and then Saturn here on the 8th house cusp, the house of death. I'll look down here. Suzanne's Mars, it's this little red line here. It's conjunct Saturn, transiting Saturn. So that reiterates an argument in the home, because it's in the 4th house of the home. That's what the 4th house is. It's the end of the matter. It's the womb, the tomb, and the home in between, basically. The co-ruler of Suzanne is the moon at this time, and that's got some squares going to it. You can see here. The one that interests me is DNA hidden in the 12th house is making an aspect which is 90 degrees. It's actually 86 degrees to the moon. So that shows me that when she's found, there will be DNA on her. We'll be able to find out who did this. The person that did this has just carried on as per normal. I don't see this person running away or doing anything. They're firm, standing firm at home. It's at 28 degrees. Mercury's at 28 degrees. Oops. So they're making an aspect to each other. So that's the suspect. Mercury is communicating about the death because it's in the 8th house. The square, 90 degrees, is no communication. We're not hearing anything. We're not hearing anything from the home. about her death. We're not hearing anything about anything except from her family. And we can see where her family is in all of this, all around here. All the energy, apart from the separate individual ones that I talk about, this area is family orientated. Her family are desperate to find her. Capricorn on the IC shows that, to me, it shows that she's deep underground, possibly with concrete or bricks or something heavy on her or around her. Okay, there's not much more to say. I think I've given a few little tips. The person in the home needs to be questioned. I won't say which person, but a person in the home needs to be questioned. If we find an affair is something that's happened, that's no surprise. That could be a part of it. I'm interested to know if the person or persons living at the address were drinkers or alcoholics, and any of the other things that I said. If anybody knows, please leave a comment below. I really hope she's found soon. I actually thought she'd be found a lot earlier. Now, unfortunately, I don't think she'll be found until probably December. Okay, everybody, take care. Until next time, see ya.